Laced Up Nation, what's really good though? The Last Dance, episode 7 and 8. Only 2 more left after this, man. Wow, crazy. Another solid pair of episodes this week. And for this week, there were kind of just 2 main themes that were coming out and just jumping out at me. First of all was just his retirement and all the circumstances around that. And then later on was just his overall mentality. This whole Michael Jordan, Mamba type mentality. Later, Kobe adopted that stuff. But so those are kind of 2 things I want to jump into. So with the retirement, I touched on it last week saying that I don't think that there's any way that MJ could have played in today's era because of all the social media and just social pressures that there are. More evidence of it this with these episodes, because you could see just how drained he was from dealing with the outside pressure. Like, not even the outside pressure of the expectations, being a role model, doing things the right way, whatever, criticism. He was already struggling with that. Then just the internal struggle of, I have to be the best at all times. I have to perform. I have to give everything to the city, to my teammates, to the game. All of that. And then on top of that, he had already accomplished everything that he had ever dreamed to accomplish. So it was like, why am I even doing this? Those thoughts, I think, started getting to his head. Like, why am I even doing this if I already did everything? And why am I going through all this hell if I already accomplished everything? So I think all of those pressures were definitely building up on him. And another thing that I touched on last week, I think even more evidence. I think there's no way that he could have not retired and then go through and win 8 championships. It's completely clear that that's just not possible anymore. But even with all that, I think there still may have been a scenario where he comes back and plays in that 94 season. But coupling it with all of that pressure, coupling it with the death of his father, there was just no way. There was no way that he couldn't retire. And that's something that when we think back to his retirement, that we don't always remember or talk about. And man, just how special and how close that relationship was. Anybody who's had a father and has had the opportunity to be close with their fathers can relate. Maybe not completely understand, but can relate how special that type of relationship can be. And so, with all of this pressure building up and all of these doubts, with that happening, that was the final confirmation that he was not going to play that season anymore. And it makes sense. There's just no way. I think there was no way for him to play that season. And obviously he goes on to play baseball, and that whole thing it's really cool to look back and funny to kind of think about. That whole era is just wild. The number 1 player in one sport goes out and just completely quits and goes plays another sport. Imagine if that happened today. That'd be super crazy. But I think a lot of that, obviously he's always had that love for baseball, but I think it had a lot more to do with his dad passing. I don't know. He mentioned that they had talked about it even before he had passed. So maybe he does it anyways, but I think it was a lot more to do with his dad passing and trying to, honor him and kind of work through it that way, than him just naturally wanting to play. And in totality, I think that obviously it ended up being the right decision because he comes back and wins 3 championships. But the reason why I think it's the right decision is because, like I just said, he had kind of lost his passion for the game. He had lost his motivation. He had proven everything that he ever wanted to prove. And he was just physically and emotionally drained. And so I think that year and a half, 18 months, whatever it was, it allowed him to really focus into baseball. He took it real seriously. Obviously, I don't know how true all those comments are about him being good enough to make it to the majors, but the thing is, he was working at it as hard as he was working at basketball. So I think that really distracted him, gave him a real mental and physical break from what he was already used to. And being away from the game, it gave him another target to go after, another goal. He reignited his passion for the game because, first of all, it's just like, okay, can I come back without playing for 2 years and be the same guy? Can I come back and play with all these guys that I never played with? Can we still be the best team in the league? Can I come back and handle everything? That right there became his motivation, I think, and slowly but surely, it reignited all of that, and they got the competitive drive that he already had. It just refocused it onto basketball, and I think ultimately it was the best thing for him in terms of his basketball career, was to take that break. And obviously he gave up the opportunity to win more titles and, just really win more games, maybe win a couple more MVPs, whatever, like all of those things. But that didn't matter anymore to him, right? He had already done everything. So we as fans are kind of deprived of more MJ in the NBA, but ultimately I think it was the right decision for him. And it really leads into the next point that I really want to talk about, was just the mentality that he's always had. And I kind of struggle with this whole mentality that we see with not just MJ, but Kobe gets associated with this type of mentality, and outside of sports, like Steve Jobs and a bunch of figures that have these hard-nosed, all or nothing type mentalities. On the one hand, I struggle with these because on the one hand, I do believe that in terms of teamwork, relationships, and working with people, all of those things are built on trust, respect, allowing people to be comfortable, allowing people to just have overall good energy so that they feel safe, they feel empowered, and they feel ultimately comfortable to express themselves fully and to allow the best to come out of them, right? So I on one hand, I do believe in that type of environment, just creating an overall good environment. But on the other hand, I've been around a couple people with this type of mentality, and the thing is, and it's hard, if you don't have that type of mentality, it's hard to really understand it, really grasp it. But when you have that type of mentality and you see other people and you see talent in them, or you see that they're not giving you 100%, they could be giving you more. When you see that and you yourself that you're giving everything, you're trying to do every single little thing correctly so that you get the most out of yourself. And when you see other people not doing that, it gets you inside here, man, deep inside. It gets you, and it just grinds you away, and it makes you boil because you can't accept that. And so in their eyes, they're going to push you so that you give everything that you can give. Now, obviously that can lead to very, very tense situations. That can lead to this whole thing that happened with Steve Kerr, which, shout out Steve Kerr and Michael too, ultimately handling that whole situation really well. But I think that even though it does create these tense situations, I do think that it's right, because most people aren't able to give more than they think they can. You know what I mean? So I can only work as hard as I think that is possible. If I believe that I'm giving 100%, that's all I can give. But sometimes, you can only think with your own brain and see from your perspective. But sometimes it does take somebody else to come from the outside and say, hey, listen, look at all these things that you're not doing, or look, remember when you did it like this? How come you can't do that consistently? And a lot of times the answer is just like, oh, you either you just didn't know, or you didn't think about it, or sometimes you just allow yourself to be comfortable a little, slack off a little bit. So I do agree with that mentality, and I think that if you're somebody who's working with or working for somebody with that type of mentality, if you can get past those uncomfortable situations, if you can get past just the anger that person might cost you. If you can get past that and really dedicate your life and your focus to that one thing that we're talking about, I do believe that more often than not, you're gonna find success. And maybe you don't find success, but you at least find the truth of, am I giving everything I can? Am I achieving everything that I can achieve? If nothing else, you will find the truth of that. And so I really admire people with that type of mentality and ability to just, you know what, I'm dedicating my soul to this. I'm dedicating my, you saw how Michael, he was crying, and that's why I'm saying, like, it's hard to understand if you don't have that mentality. He was crying because he put his soul into it, and to see other people not doing it, or to just, if you're not gonna do it this way, just don't be around me, and that's, wow, that's very impressive to me. That's very, it's just awe-inspiring to me to see somebody able to dedicate that much to a certain goal, have so much passion, so much drive for a singular thing. It's just very impressive. It's very admirable, in my opinion. And so I do struggle, a lot with, having that type of mentality. Obviously does cause situations that should be handled differently. Michael, he shouldn't have punched Steve Kerr, right? He shouldn't have not let Horace Grant eat, right, after the games, or whatever the case may be. There's many situations that he should have handled differently. But at the end of the day, his mentality, the way that he made and got guys to work, he was right. You saw what happened when Scotty was the leader. Scotty was more about having everybody feel good, feel comfortable. And you know what? They did well. They were all talented. But I don't think they got 100% potential out of every single guy with that type of mentality. It takes somebody like, for that group, it took somebody like Michael to get that 100%. And obviously Michael is obviously extremely talented, and he himself is going to elevate the team. But man, it's just, I love learning about people like this. I love learning. That's one of the reasons why many people love Kobe and love MJ. It's just the determination. But it's easy to love it from afar. It's different when you're there. So, man, just a couple other things that jumped off from these episodes. Gary Payton, I don't care what MJ says, man. Gary Payton did really nice on him. Yes, they still lost or whatever, but man, Gary Payton the glove, if you go watch those games, he was making MJ struggle in those games. Matter of fact, with John, we're gonna have to revisit one of those games and really show how, yes, MJ's MJ, he's gonna eat, but GP was doing his thing out there. The other thing was, those Space Jam night 5-on-5 runs. How crazy would that be? I know everybody who's a real hooper, who really loves hooping, that's what it's all about. It's having those late night runs with high quality runs, man. Those are like the things we dream about, man. Whew, crazy stuff. But yeah, man, these episodes are super crazy. If you haven't watched these last two episodes, for sure go check them out. We got the season finale, or the series finale, this weekend. Super, bittersweet. I'm gonna need like 20 or like 30 more episodes of this stuff. But yeah, we're definitely gonna be doing another reaction video like this, and then probably a more complete, kind of overall reaction maybe with John later after this series is over. But anyway, that's it. Let me know in the comments what you think about what I said, anything that I missed, whatever. Love you. Shout out Pete. Easy.